Hi, everyone. My name is Mickey Hudson, and I want to welcome you to Facebook Live. We're going to give you a few minutes, but this is Husqvarna Viking Facebook Live, and we are going to be introducing you and reviewing with you the Amber S100 Serger. And so I'm going to give you a few minutes to come in and have a seat. And I want to make my little announcements. Once again, Husqvarna Viking promotes this with, it's free to you. Facebook Live is free. So Husqvarna Viking is never going to ask for money or personal information on the Facebook forum. So if you see any links that ask for personal information, even if you click on it and it starts asking for personal information, that is not from us. And now my behind the scenes production crew, Ryan, Meredith, and Thomas, they do work very hard to keep that off of there. But just in case, remember, we don't ask for any personal information on Facebook. I want to introduce myself again. My name is Mickey Hudson, and I am a Husqvarna Viking educator. And today we are going to be reviewing the Amber S100. So this is a manual serger, and it is a great introduction. So it is absolutely just in time for National Sewing Month, which starts this month. So yeah, National Sewing Month is a good time to look at a serger if you have been thinking about one. Another thing, right now, sergers are the most affordable than they've ever been, I think. So it's a good time to start thinking about them. So we have done a previous Facebook Live on one of the other models of the serger. So if you are thinking about purchasing a serger, you might want to compare the two. So this is more of the introductory serger, and I do like it because for a manual serger, it is extremely easy to thread, because there are some out there that are very difficult, and you have to get your hands in nooks and crannies and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going to show you why this one is very easy to thread. So first of all, I want to encourage you, if you have questions, please ask questions, and I will do everything that I can to answer them. And I'm going to switch cameras now and have you take a peek at the Amber S100. So this is the Amber S100. It is a manual serger. So what that means is there's no computer screen, there's no fancy auto threading or anything like that. So we will be threading it ourselves. But like I said, it's very easy to use. So we have it's a 4-thread. So we can do, the overlocks, we can do the flat locks, we can do the decorative, we can do rolled hem, all kinds of fun stuff. Down below here, there are some features that are pretty nice that automatically come with it. One is a little accessory tray. So there's a little not accessory tray, but a waist tray. So it attaches right to the front, and all your little shavings and cuttings will go right in there. Another thing that is really nice is there's a fabric guide right here. So you can set your seam allowance and use that as a guide. So it is really nice that it's just built in right there. Okay, so let me move my camera a bit. And I'm going to come back down. So here I'm going to show a little bit more about why it's so easy to thread. So one of the things here is that you're just going to slide it open to thread it. So I can get in here, but these are the little nooks and crannies that I mentioned that are hard to reach on some some overlock serger machines out there. All right, I'm going to say this right now because that way I can get over the nervousness about saying it wrong. There are sergers, so it's sometimes you will hear the word serger and sometimes you will hear the word overlock. They are the same thing. So it really depends on like what country, what company, etc. Some will call it a serger, some will call it an overlock. They are the same thing. A cover lock is a different serger. It is a serger with 5 threads, so it does one more stitch or one more series of stitches. Okay, so I have a comment that came in. I have the Amber Air, so I'm looking forward to seeing the differences. So yeah, you're going to see the differences. You're going to see the differences between the Amber Air and the S100. So back to this, one of the things that is with threading on other serger overlock or machines are getting in here. And it can be very, very difficult. This one has a little lever right here. So if I just pull this lever, look at that. I can get right in here for my threading. So it is extremely easy to thread. Are there any questions about that? Okay. So one of the things too is it does come with the 2-thread converter. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. It is not attached, but they have this nice convenient little cubby hole right down here that it just lives in when it's not in use. And you would use the converter for like the 2-thread rolled edge, stuff like that. There's a nice little compartment here for the screwdriver, your lint brush, etc. There's a nice little handy threading guide here. So again, extremely easy to get in here and thread. So I'm going to show you how to thread it in a bit. But another thing that it comes with is it does come with an owner's manual. Okay. I have my little cheat sheet out here. And it does come with a quick start guide. So the quick start guide is really nice to keep handy near the serger, because it's just a quick start guide and reminding you how to thread if you forget a step. Okay, so very, very handy. You can do all of the same things that you can on any 4 threads. So like I said, you're going to be able to do your overlock. You're going to be able to do the 3-thread, the 4-thread, the 2-thread, the flat lock, etc. So let me get in here and let me move it. I do not want to make you guys seasick. So that's why I'm flipping the cameras back and forth. And let's see if I can get you a better view. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a little gas. There is, sorry, I'm just going to move it real quick. The lever is here to bring the foot up and down. And there is also a nice little cutter right here. So when you come up to cut your threads, you can just bring it right there. If I can get into the groove, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the foot because once again, with the serger, it is designed for efficiency and convenience. So once it's threaded, we like it threaded to open up our tension discs so that when we're threading, everything gets where it needs to be. Then we can lower our foot and everything now can just be lifted up right from the front and slide it in. So it is designed for convenience. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of gas. And my foot pedal has walked away from me. So I could not get it enough power. So let me move you closer. There we go. All right. So here is the overlock stitch, the 4 thread overlock stitch. See how nice that is? So it is a very beautiful, hardworking little machine. And I'm just going to review this real quick so that I'm not going to do the whole thing. If you've seen any of my other videos on the serger, I do review how to take out a serger stitch. So just a reminder, if you just give the needle thread. So if we take a look at the stitch, we have, there's our orange thread, there's our blue. Hello, stop it. And the red is our upper looper, and the green is our lower looper. So to pull out a serger stitch, if you just come in here and grab hold of the needle thread, it'll pull out like a basting stitch. When I have something a little heavier, I may clip it periodically so that it'll pull out in shorter pieces. I'm going to come and grab that second one, give it a pull. And once you've pulled out the needle threads, the rest of the stitches just pull away. So taking out a serger stitch is extremely easy. I was asked earlier, can a serger do everything that a sewing machine can do? A serger is like the microwave in your kitchen. It's like you can't find a kitchen nowadays without a microwave that's like built in. And it's the same thing for a sewing room. The serger is like the microwave. It can do a lot. It cannot do absolutely everything. So you still do use your sewing machine for like straight stitching, decorative stitching, embroidery. But what it does, it's very fast and efficient and very clean. So in my opinion, every sewing room should at least have a basic serger in it, because it does make it very, very nice. Are there any questions about that? Okay. So how many of you, or have any of you never done a one of the burrito pillowcases that are out there where you fold it up and tuck it in? This is a perfect example. I made this one mini for today, but this is a perfect example of how quickly you can do something. So I've just cut this out real quick. So for those of you that might be interested in doing this, I baby cut it. I cut it really small, but it's making pillowcases for people, for charity, for grandkids, for family, for anniversaries, etc. Super easy. And the measurements are really, really easy. So if you cut one strip 10 inches by the width of the fabric, one strip 26 by the width of the fabric, that's your main pillowcase, and one stitch or strip 1 3/4 by the width of the fabric. So this is the 10-inch piece here, and this is the 1 3/4-inch piece here, and then this would be the 27-inch piece here. And you're going to just stack everything up really quickly. So I have my 10-inch piece, and I put my main fabric. So I've got like a wrong side to wrong side. Let me straighten this out. So see, I have the right side up and I have the right side up. And then I'm just going to put that little strip right side up. So I have all the raw edges all lined here. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to roll this up so that I can get the other part of the band at the top to come and line up with the raw edges. So when it's done, it'll look like this. So I have the right side of the band, and I have the right side of the main fabric, And then I have the 1 3/4 folded in half and tucked up. So these are all the raw edges. And then I will just shove everything in there and pull the other side of the band over. And we're going to just serge along the edge real quick. So I'm going to be very, very quick here. But this is one of those projects that you can do from cut to finish in about 15 minutes. So it's really cool. Uh-oh. So I'm going to, I broke my thread. So I'm going to pull this out. So one thing is it is color coded, and I am going to thread it from start to finish. But because I broke the lower looper, I can go ahead and rethread this. So this is the green. We're just going to follow the green path. He's going to go right in here. He's going to go, there's a hook right here. And I need to get in there. So I'm just going to open this up. And there is a little hook at the end of the looper right there. So I just turn my hand wheel. And I'm going to pull him back over. Let me just pull my thread back, my needle thread back, I should say. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and explain what I am doing, because you see my fingers doing stuff, but my mouth is not talking. So this is the upper looper, this part here that when you turn the hand wheel, it bounces up and up and up. And this is the lower looper. He stays down below. So this thread, the upper looper thread, I want behind the lower looper. So that's all I was doing, is this thread was kind of tucked up over the front. So I just tucked him behind. And I'm going to go ahead and thread this right quick. Cut my thread. And thread this right quick. Steady hand. There we go. So I'll be back in action. All right. So I'm just lining up my edges again. And I'm just going to let it cut off that little tail there. Make sure my foot is down. So when it comes to working with a serger, I really highly recommend these Wonder Clips that you can get from most of your dealers versus pins, because if a pin hits that little cutting blade that's in here, it can do some damage, and then you'd want to replace it. So it's just going to line up my raw edges. And one more. So all of this is just shoved in there, and I just want to stitch my raw edges. So with this one pass, we just stitched the band to the top and the little trim insert. Okay. Look at how pretty that stitch is. Okay. So even though it's an intro machine, it is really a nice machine. So what we do here now is we just pull this out, and that just serges all of the edges, and it's all tucked in. Seriously, it takes longer to do that. See how you get this nice little band? So now all I need to do is just put these right sides together here and stitch along the edge and the bottom, and we get our handy dandy little baby pillow. So this has been modified for Facebook Live. I love the serger. Okay, so I want to talk about threading. All right, so I'm going to show you how to thread it from start to scratch, so start to finish. So I'm just going to cut all my threads, which of course makes some people nervous. But I am normally a thread cutter. So usually if I have a thread on any of my sergers that breaks, I usually just cut everything off and start over. You can tie off and pull them through. So if that's what you're more comfortable with, this one will do it just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my camera view a bit. So I've cut my thread. I'm going to go ahead and lift my foot. The same thing is with the other serger videos that you've seen me do, or the other Facebook Lives. When it comes to pulling the thread out, don't just start yanking on it. Turn your hand wheel backwards one rotation, and it'll release the thread. So it'll just pull right off of there. Okay. All right, I'm making everybody sick. Hold on a second. Okay. So I'm not going to show you the tension portion because it's just going to come. This is very much like a normal serger. So it's still going to go through, and even on your sewing machine. So you still have to thread it at the top through the little guides and then down through your tension. So that's all there is to that. And I will show you what the top looks like so you can get a look at that. But when it comes to, I'll just go ahead and show you because I want to talk about this. When it comes to, so here we go. So it's just going to get threaded into this little guide and then straight down into the tension. And I like to do a little dental floss. And I do this with all of my sergers. I do it with all of my sewing machines, is I just kind of pull it in dental floss as I go down. But one thing I do want to point out here, since some of you are here comparing this with the Amber Air, is that with the Amber Air, you don't have to pay attention to what order you thread things in. You can thread them in any order. With a manual serger, you do want to thread the upper looper first. And the reason that is, it's really about making it easier on you. You can thread it in other order, but what happens in that case is now you're having to thread the loopers, but you're also having to thread around the thread that's already been threaded. So that is the reason to thread in a specific order. And so it's always going to start with the upper looper and then the lower looper. And if you were to look in the serger itself, the upper looper and the lower looper is closer to us and the upper looper is tucked behind. So that's why we're just going to thread from the back out is really what it comes down to. Does that make sense? Did I lose anybody when it comes to that? Let me know, and I will repeat those gestures again so you can understand my hand movements. We're going to come back to the serger right quick. Meredith, that is an affirm. It probably is. I got asked a question off camera, so apologies. So we're going to come, and you still can't see what I'm doing. Hold on. All right. So I'm coming down the upper looper. All right. So the question is, what order? So if we take a look at our Serger Tensions, this is going to be our left needle. This is our right needle. So these are our needles, our left needle, our right needle. These two are our loopers. So we have the upper looper and we have the lower looper. So when it comes to threading a manual like this, we always want to start with the upper looper, because that is the one, if you look at the way the loopers work, the lower looper stays below and the upper looper is the one that comes up and over and pops up to say hi. Okay, so the upper looper is the one that's farthest back. So that's why we want to thread that one first. Now, when I was new to serging, what I did was I put a little sticker right there so that I knew this was the one I did first. Once I did this, then I could thread the rest in any order. But so I just put a little reminder to myself, this one goes first. The instruction manual will let you know, and it is, you do get really used to doing it. And that's why when demonstration, doing the video on the Amber Air was, I would just start in every order and I could hear everybody just going, oh, because it is, you do get used to threading it in a certain order. Oops, let me move this back down so you can see. Okay, so once again, we are color coded. So we're in the red, which is the lower looper, and our little guide here says, come and get into this little hook here. So, okay. Snaps right in. We're going to come down to this little red hook, which is over here. And then it's like we're going to come up over. There's a little loopy on the looper itself, which is right. You can't see it. Right here. So can you see that right? This little loopy here, right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and thread in here. Okay, can you guys see that it's kind of stuck right in here? And then we have the eye of the looper. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit. And this part I'm a big fan of. Put it where you need it to be. The serger does come with the tweezers. I'm just getting caught on the thread. And I just want you to know too, my sewing room is extremely dry. So my thread often sticks on itself. So once again, I'm just going to kind of tuck that thread back behind. And you normally don't see me like this because I'm on camera, but when I'm at home sewing, this is what I always look like. I always have my little magnifying glasses so I can see. And most dealers carry some or can get some of those for you. But if you are having trouble with your eyesight, They're awesome. And they just live on my head. So now we're going to come over to, I'm going to move over a little bit again. So I'm going to come and I'm going to do the lower looper. So I'm going to once again hook it at the top and just do the little dental floss into the tension. Come and get into this little hook. And again, follow the guide. So and everything's color coded. So there's little red dots here for the upper looper and there's little green dots for the lower looper. So I'm just going to follow the little green dots. There's one right here. I'm going to go ahead and get that. You can open up and get this one too. So you can open up this door and get that one as well. And then I'm going to move my camera to zoom in so that you can really see this back loop, the back of this upper looper here. I'm going to use this camera. There we go. All right. So my upper looper, here's the front of my upper looper, and the back of my upper looper is here. So I'm going to just turn my hand wheel always towards me until that back comes out. That is also a little hook. That's the little hook I want to get. And that's why I'm so happy that door opens up. So now I can come and just bring this forward, and I'm just going to go ahead and thread into the lower looper eye here. Everybody with me? Comments on the fabric. I don't remember exactly, but it's a licensed print. You know, so it was probably one of the chain stores. But I cannot remember exactly. But it's Vogue and it's Princesses. And that's also why the little pillowcase I did is cut so weird, is more square than a rectangle like a pillowcase, is because that's actually for a project, and I didn't want to have to reshape it. So I'm just going to take it out and reuse it again. So, all right. So any questions about this threading? Okay. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the needles. So well, I'm not going to show you the needles. You guys know how to thread needles. But this is much like a sewing machine. So you're just going to thread the top. And for this, I want my foot back up. I want to make sure I'm in the tensions. And now this is much like a sewing machine. So we're just going to come up and over. And we have our little thread guide right above the needles. And we have two sides. So I have one for left and one for right. I'm going to go ahead and lower my foot. Your dealer also has fancy needle threaders. But once again, I just have my my portable eyes. I'll pop those on there. And I'm going to grab the blue. Lift the foot. And then I can just go ahead and come into the right side. The size needles they use, you can use 80 or 90s. I'm a personal fan of the 90s with sergers, but again, my opinion is not written in stone. However, I am recommending the Husqvarna Viking Overlock sergers, so your dealer should be able to carry those. And the Inspira, if your dealer still has those will also work as well. Because Inspira is actually changing its name to the Husqvarna brand. So Husqvarna Viking and Inspira needles are going to be the same. All right. Any questions about any of that? Okay. So I'm going to talk about some quick projects that you can do. So we talked about the pillow. You can also use your heavy decorative threads, just like any of your sergers. So this is an 8-weight thread, and this is I've just done as a napkin edge. So you can do quick, easy napkins. This is a circle napkin that it gets folded very pretty. This one I just did the rolled hem, but I'm going to talk about that, the rolled hem, in a bit. Now this is a simple little project too. This is actually something that you can make for your dinner table. So if you're going to have a dinner party or something like that, it's very easy. It's just a simple square. There's no real pattern. It's just a simple square. And I used Timtex or Peltex. Again, your dealer can probably get a hold of that. And just fused everything together and just stitched around the edges. And then I created a rectangle for the handle and just stitched around the edges. And then took my sewing machine and stitch them together real quick. This is a 12-weight metallic thread. So this I would definitely use the 90 needle. And I can use it in my upper and lower looper. And I just serged around the edge. Now you can use the S-class feet, serger feet for this. And you can do cording. There's a cording foot. So you could do cording over the little metal wire, like the 28, 26 gauge metal wire, and create a ribbon and tack that to this, which I plan to do. I just don't have that foot yet. It's coming. But this, I want to talk about the napkins with the rolled edge. So this is the napkins that go with that. And this is the rolled edge. Look how beautiful that is. So that is we're going to do that in just a bit. You can do the flat lock. So the flat lock is done where you stitch together. And if I have time, I'll show you how to do the flat lock. But you stitch it together and you can pull it open. And on one side, you get this look to it. And then on the other side, you can get this kind of a look to it. So it's really, really a nice, fun decorative stitch. The purpose of the flat lock, the real purpose of the flat lock, is when you're working with like heavy fleece. You want to make some fleece slippers, for instance. You can actually stitch everything together and open it up, and the seam is flat. So you don't get that heavy, bulky stuff going on. You can quilt with it. You can piece with it. And if you've watched my other videos, you've seen this before. I love piecing with a serger because it is just so clean and it's so fast. And for any of my blocks that have a regular 1/4 inch, it works great. If you have those patterns that call for scant 1/4 inches, they mean that. So you can fiddle with this, but usually if it's a pattern that asks for a scant 1/4 inch, I will do it on my sewing machine. And for a full 1/4 inch, all my quilts are pretty much pieced on a serger. And I personally like the 4-thread overlock. In my personal opinion, when everything is pressed, it lays the flattest. So I have tried every single stitch in the repertoire. I like the 4-thread because it lays flat, and I like the flat lock because it creates a element of decoration. And you could even take it further and thread ribbon through that and get really creative. Okay. And then this is another little review, if you've seen my previous videos, is I do love the binding attachment on my Husqvarna Viking sewing machine. The binding attachment is fantastic, but that's not the only way you can attach binding. So this is binding by Serger. So what I did is I cut my binding as I normally would, and this is a 4-thread overlock, except in the lower looper, I use a fusible thread so that when I fold it over and give it a press, it stays into position. So I love doing that. It's great for wall hangings. So if you're not going to need to hand stitch it up, and even if you are going to hand stitch it up, it's great to put it into position so I don't need pins. I don't do hand sewing very often, but once in a while I do. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to the rolled edge. Oh, before I do that, again, I'm going to show a couple other features that this has. So this also has the differential feed. So some of the features on this is we do have our differential feed. So you've heard me say it before. If I can't get differential feed on a serger, it's not worth it, because a differential feed is going to make a big difference. You can change and adjust your stitch length. And this is my hand wheel. And then over here, I can change my cutting width. And up here, I can also change, wrong one, the pressure of my foot on how hard it's going to hold the foot down. So if I'm working with heavier fabrics and that kind of thing, I want to lighten it up. If you are new to my serger videos and you are unfamiliar with what differential feed is, I'm going to show you right quick. So differential feed really comes in handy with the stretches and the knits. Or I will even use it sometimes when I have 2 layers and the bottom layer is a little looser. You can turn up the differential feed and it'll scooch the bottom layer a little faster. So there are times it really comes in handy. But when you have stretch fabric, it really is a necessity. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this or serge this just all by itself. Let me change my angle so you can see a little better. And I have something threaded incorrectly. And I will show you how I know that. I'm going to turn my hand wheel so it'll release. Yeah, you're caught. There we go. So my lower loop, my lower looper just came unthreaded. So I want to just grab all my threads and pull those to the back. And the reason I do that is because, again, everything is kind of, the way a serger works is everything kind of wraps around and forms the stitch. So because I wanted to 3-thread my lower looper, which is down here below, my needle threaders were in the middle of that wrap. So they're just wrapped right around here. So all I do is because I come and take my needles out, it just pulls everything off of the loopers so that just the looper is exposed. And so it just makes threading easier. Does that make sense? Are there any questions? Am I losing you guys? Wow, the time she does get away. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close it. Close it. All right. Just so I don't have to make you guys seasick. All right. Let's give this a go again. So I'm going to show you. So as I started sewing, this started happening. So I knew there was a problem. And then by the time I got over here, I could just really feel it. And technically, normally, if I weren't on camera, I probably would have just stitched off and corrected it right away. But being on camera and live TV, I was really kind of crossing my fingers, sticking out my tongue and tilting my head just right, hoping that it would straighten up. But it did not. But you can tell immediately when a stitch is not doing well. And once again, to get the threads out, you're just going to grab the needle threads and pull them out. However, in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to go ahead and move my fabric guide over so that I can cut that little bit off. And give it some. Oh, I know what I'm doing. So for those of you that have seen my my Serger videos before, what do I always say about the lower looper thread? That you cut it and you just let it hang down below. This is a good example. So I think it's just getting wrapped up around up here where I don't want it to be. Yep, you are. So good. I'll get to show you again what I'm talking about with the leaving it down below. I love live TV because all these wonderful things can happen that don't normally happen. All right, there we go. Oh, we got this guy behind here. So I missed a step. I'm going to take this back here, just get into this little hook here. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about because I almost did it again. When it comes to this lower looper, I usually just trim my thread and let him hang down here. So the tail of the thread just hangs down here. That keeps them from getting tangled. And I'm going to pull a cotton right quick. I'm doing okay. So let me check my tensions. This is another little rule of thumb. I don't care how fancy or basic your machine is. If you get a thread, now the first time I knew I could see specifically what the problem was. But now that I've addressed that and that's no longer the problem, let me take a look. If I take and just dental floss my tensions, 90% of the time, it's just out of one of the tensions. So let's see if I'm one of those 90%. And I am not. Something is catching here. It's the green. I spoke too soon, Meredith. So I mentioned when I said I'm always running out of time She says, "Oh, you're doing good." So I'm just responding that she spoke a little too soon. So I want to bring you back. But sometimes it's also good to see how to troubleshoot when there is a problem. So again, pull everything back. Oh, I see the problem. Oh, you guys have got to see this. I feel so much better and so much stupider. But I know I'm not the only one this has ever happened to. Oh, I don't want to bring this up. I want to let this hang out. Hang down. You're going to laugh. I can see why it's having trouble forming a stitch. So while we're here and I am quickly running out of time, I do want to show you this because it is quite funny. But I also want to remind you that the next Facebook Live is the 15th. I have my little note here so I can remember. Yes, so it's September 15th. It's the same time at 2 p.m. Central. And Karen Charles will be hosting it, and she's going to be all about zippers. So there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do with zippers that sometimes we don't even realize. So really, really fun. All right, so you ready to see what the mistake was? So scrunch right in. So I don't know if you can see the way my orange needle thread is going. See how it's just wrapping around the needle there? That's my problem. So I'm going to go ahead and just unthread this. And you can even see here, he's just tangling on here. So I'm going to unthread that. So, and rethread that. So is everybody laughing with me? I hope you're laughing with me and not at me. I went ahead and unthreaded both. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm good. All right, let's give this another go. So when all else fails, we're just gonna, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut and rethread. So you're just going to have to hold a second. I'm just gonna rethread my loopers right quick. Lift up, pull out. All right, let's just get this real quick. So I'm gonna just come down and grab that upper looper real quick. So you can see here where once you get a little bit of, once you've done it a few times, it's pretty quick to pop this in. And I'm going to try and do this without my eyes on. Okay. Oh. There we go. But this is quite a heavy duty little machine. And what you're seeing here is operator error. And rethreading does cure a multitude of sins. So once I've gotten to that point, it's just time to rethread. And hook you in. And hook you in. Okay. Oops. Go, go, go. There we go. All right. And then just cut you and let you hang down south. Okay. All right, I'm going to have to figure out what I did to this machine. All right. So I did something to it, but we are quickly running out of time. I'm going to just take the foot off and take a look. It's you that are being my problem child. I'm going to hand walk you through. Let's see what you're doing. So now you've entered the talking myself through the problem stage. At least you'll be happy to know that we all do it. All right, so I'm going to lower you and walk you through. See what's happening. Okay. I need to put the foot back on. But this is also a good thing to remember is if your serger does mess up on you, whether you have the basic or the top of the line, there's no need to panic. Remember, it's a machine, and the second it knows we're scared of it, it will take over. So you just have to let it know, look, I'm in charge. And it's just like your sewing machine. You just rethread it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you the... It's just out of the tension now. Get in there. Get in there. Okay. Now, I'm actually out of time. But here you can see that I did get the stitch back, just in case you were wondering. So it was just a case of rethreading it. And I just, once all else failed, I kept trying to take the shortcut of just threading the upper looper or the lower looper. And it was twisted, so that will not allow it to make a stitch. But as you can see, once the shortcuts weren't working, I just cut my thread, started over, and was able to get it going. But I'm not going to be able to show you the rolled hem, but this is the rolled hem on this machine, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I am going to show you how the converter attaches real quick, because if you are thinking of it, some sergers come with the converter attached, and some come with a separate. So this is the little separate, and he's going to just come and sit into this little spot here on the upper looper. There's a little, can you see that little lip that sticks out? So he's going to kind of go in butt first right there and come on down and it'll just come to the back of the looper and fit into the eye of it. Okay. So when he's not in use, sorry, I know I'm making everybody seasick. You can just take him off and he will just live down right in the door. And like I said, you're not going to use that very often. So he's just going to park it right down there. So we are out of time. So I do want to thank you for coming. And if there are questions about this particular serger or anything else, I will be reading the comments and stopping by and that kind of thing. If you have not seen my other Facebook Live videos, check in them under videos. You will find all of the Facebook Live videos that you might have missed. And just a reminder, I want to remind everybody about National Sewing Month. This is this month, and September 15th, we will have another Facebook Live, and it's going to be all about zippers. So if there's no further questions, we're going to end it now. And despite my little demonstration, this is a really nice little workhorse machine. So don't let my little faux pas dissuade you from going into your dealer and taking a look at them. They really are a nice little machine. So I will see everybody next time. And I want to thank you for coming. And I will talk to everybody later. Bye.